Hello everybody, this is Rocket Rick J18. I'm bringing you a video today about some pickups that I've made since my last video, and I'm experimenting with some new technology today, so I hope you'll bear with me if I seem even a little more self-conscious, I guess, about things than normal. I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of parallel tracks that my collecting journey has come to. I still consider myself to be primarily a vintage set collector, and to the extent that I'm a modern card collector, it's all pretty much all sets, with a few exceptions. And so one of the parallel tracks that's not necessarily a set collection is getting some cards of the older players, if not from their playing years, at least from years not too long after their playing years. So I wanted to start with a couple of cards that I have recently acquired from the 1941 play ball set. I have too few of these cards to consider myself pursuing a set, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and that's where I am on this 1941 play ball set. So the two cards that I have to show you are one of the stalwart early championship Yankee years, Earl Combs, who is apparently nicknamed Colonel, although I didn't know that until I saw this card. I knew that Earl Combs was the center fielder for the 1927 Yankees. First time I ran across his name was on a facsimile team signature page in the 1963 Yankee yearbook, and it had Earl Combs, and so I was interested in those players: Bob Musial, Mark Koenig, Tony Lazzeri, and others, to see what they were all about. Of course, I knew about Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig, but that was about it. So Earl Combs was not a home run hitter, but he was one of the primary defensive players, and also a pretty decent hitter in his own right. The other player is one of the great Hall of Famers for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Pie Traynor, and he played third base, and was recognized, I think, generally as one of the greatest third basemen, at least of his era, if not all time. So these two guys were not active players in 1941, but they do appear in the 1941 set with other Hall of Famers from earlier years, including Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, among others. So that's where I am. I think I have maybe 5 or 6 cards from the 1940 play ball set, and maybe about the same number of the 1941 play balls. So the 1941 set is a much smaller set, and if it weren't for the fact that it has a Joe DiMaggio card and a Ted Williams card that are pretty expensive, it might not even be all that difficult a set to put together. But those two cards are pretty expensive, and I'm sure there are others as well. So that's part of my collecting journey, focusing on these play ball sets. And just if you're not already aware of it, play ball was well, let's see, in the literary trade, they would say it was an imprint of gum ink, which is, of course, founded by the Bowman family, and that brought us the Bowman cards of the late 40s and early to mid 50s. And then was, bought by Topps, and so, years later, 1989, Topps resurrected the Bowman name for another set of cards, which has continued on until today's times. So that's my recent acquisitions in the 1940 Bowman set, or Bowman play ball set. A couple of other cards that I want to show you. One is from the 1949 Bowman set, which as you may recall, I'm actively collecting, and I'm down to somewhere in the mid-20s in cards remaining to be collected in this set. So these are this is one of the commons. Glenn Mulder, I guess you pronounce it Mulder. I'm not really sure of the pronunciation, but he's one of the commons in the mid 150s or mid 160s, somewhere along in there. The next card there is from the 1960 Leaf set. Elroy Face, who was the Pirate great reliever in the late 50s, early 60s, featured prominently in the 1960 World Series, all in relief. And you might know he's, I think, is still the record holder for the highest winning percentage among players with more than 10 or 15 decisions. In 1959, Elroy Face won 18 games in relief and lost only one. Including 1958, at the tail end of the season, he had 17 consecutive wins, which is probably some kind of record. But 18-1 gives you, as you could imagine, a pretty high winning percentage. So somewhere north of 900, which is rare territory, rarefied air, as they say. So I'm working on these two sets actively and consider myself fairly well along the way. Another track that my collection is taking these days is collecting some PSA graded cards of terrific players that I think maybe one day have a chance at getting into the Hall of Fame. So I have with me here two cards that fall into that category. One is the 1984 Topps Don Mattingly rookie card, and the other is a 1974 Topps Dave Parker rookie card. I'm sorry, that's the wrong card up there, so I'm looking at him backwards, but I can see him in the picture here. So Dave Parker was a great player for the Pirates, generally most of his career in right field, and he came up in 1974. This is his rookie card. I always thought of him as being tethered with another Pirate outfielder, Richie Zisk, because they came up about the same time. They both played for the Charleston, West Virginia Pirate AAA franchise, the Charleston Charlies, and played extremely well in Charleston, and both came up roughly the same time and played in the outfield for the Pirates. But Dave had a much more stellar career than Richie Zisk did. Um, that's Dave Parker. I think he is got a pretty good chance at making it into the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee or some other committee of a like kind. Along with Don Mattingly, who's really had was a dominant force from the mid 1980s through the mid 1990s, at least until the Derek Jeter, Andy Pettit, Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams, and Mariano Rivera era. Don Mattingly put the team on his shoulders and carried him. He never got to play in a World Series. Came close, a couple of times, but he retired before the '96 Yankee team and came up after the '83 Yankee team. So his career unfortunately cut short by back injuries, and so he has never been elected to the Hall of Fame as of yet. But I think he's hanging in there and may someday achieve that status. So I got his '84 Topps card along with Dave Parker, and then I also got his '84 Fleer rookie card, Don Mattingly's, and his '84 Donruss rookie card, which is probably the best set certainly the best set that Donruss put out when they started back into putting together cards. Donruss, of course, is the same company that brought you the Leaf cards, and double bubble gum also. So those are some interesting ones. Fleer is a Frank Fleer company, also made bubble gum in Philadelphia, and that's where the Fleer cards were made back in the day, and even in this day and age. And I think the '84 was a pretty nice looking set as well for Fleer. They've got some pretty good cards in terms of rookie cards and other cards from stars of the mid 1980s. So that's Don Mattingly. So that's one of the tracks. Another one is maybe some more modern cards. I do want to mention in particular some Shohei Ohtani cards, and I'll give a homage to a shout out to those back pages who I believe he thinks that Shohei is not as well treated in the hobby as he might otherwise be. But I like him. I think he's an interesting player. He's exciting for a variety of reasons, and that is one of his gem mint rookie cards from the Topps regular set, card number 700 in PSA 10. The next card is also a PSA 10 Ohtani rookie, and this one is from the 2018 Bowman set, and it's card number 49. So it's also a gem mint 10. I also have that same card in a gem mint 9, but it's the same card, so I'm not going to bother to show you that as a different card. And then I'm going to show you two of the chrome cards for Shohei Ohtani, and those are the 2018 Topps Chrome in a mint 9, and then the Bowman Chrome in card number 1, also in a mint 9. So those are all Shohei Ohtani. I hope someday these cards will be worth a lot of money, but if they're not, they're still of a pretty exciting player who have enjoyed watching for the times that I could get them on TV watching the Angels play. So those are potential Hall of Famers somewhere down the road. Also got a couple of rookie cards recently of the latest, I hope, Yankee sensation, although he certainly isn't hitting like it right now. This is Anthony Volpe, and a couple of his cards in this is a Bowman Chrome Mint 9 from 2020, and this other one is a Topps Chrome card, also a Mint 9 from the 2021 Bowman Paper Prospects set. Uh, Anthony Volpe, he's highly touted from the for the New York Yankees, and has apparently, for the time being at least, won the shortstop job for the Yankees coming out of spring training. But the last time I looked, he was hitting about 160, and he won't be the starting shortstop for very long if he doesn't start to hit better. so that's way below the Mendoza line, as they say, and I think I have a right to use that term because among all other things that I've liked the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I was there and suffered through the Mario Mendoza years when he batting average hovered around 200. So that's how it got its name. This is the regular Topps issue of Anthony Volpe. Not a very expensive card. The others are certainly more expensive than this regular issue card. But I thought I'd show that to you as well. The other cards that I have picked up are kind of in, let's say, set collections, and I'm not gonna show you all these cards or talk about them much, but I can show you some of them pretty quickly, and we'll see how that goes. These are 1961 Topps cards. There's Tony Kubek, Whitey Ford. These are not all the Yankees, but those are the two probably biggest Yankee stars, along with this next card that I'm going to show you, which is Elston Howard. There's a Yankee pitcher, didn't really pitch too much for the team. Bill Short, Fritz Brickell, or Brickell. Here's one that I consider to be one of the key Yankee players, and what a hitter in the World Series, Bobby Richardson. Some of you may recall that in 1960, he became the first player, I believe, to win the World Series MVP award from the losing team. He actually had 14 hits in that World Series, and played very well in the World Series throughout his career with the Yankees. But those are a few cards that I picked up. There's some other league leaders, and there's no Mantle card, unfortunately, and no Maris card. Those would have been obviously the big stars, in addition to Whitey Ford from that set. This is another set of cards which I picked up after having disclosed to you already that I like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, in 1979, the Pittsburgh Pirates won the World Series, and some of my favorite, so this is a Pirate team set from World Series, and I'm just going to show you a few of my favorite cards of players from the Pirates in 1979. So the first card there is Pirate Prospects, of which most of them didn't achieve much notoriety other than maybe Dale Barron his notoriety wasn't particularly good. He was implicated in some of the drug problems that the Pirates had later in the 80s. So this guy here, though, Rennie Stennett, was a great player, and it didn't really get the accolades that I think he should have gotten during this time period. The Pirates had a string of really good second basemen that got traded away to bring in other players, but I don't think the Pirates ever got the quality in return for the quality they gave up. Dave Cash went to the Phillies, Willie Randolph went to the Yankees, Johnny Ray played for a number of years with the Pirates, but this guy played and was a terrific hitter. He tied the modern major league record for consecutive hits, 10. He went 7 for 7 against the Cubs one day in a 22-0 shutout, which also set a modern record for the most lopsided shutout in history, 22-0. And the next day he came back with 3 more hits to start out the game, so that's how he got 10 in a row. And that, as I said, ties the modern major league record for consecutive hits. Rennie Stennett. Another guy who featured prominently in the Pirates during this time period was this guy, Bruce Keeson, also known as the Whip. But he was one of the pitchers that the Pirates really relied upon. Not their greatest pitcher, but a guy who he had kind of a sidearm delivery style and was tough to hit in many circumstances. So he did really well for the Pirates. This guy was another terrific pitcher for the Pirates, and he's the guy that really stopped the Orioles when they jumped out to a 3-1 lead in the World Series and won the first 2 games played in Pittsburgh. So do or die, Game 5, Jim Rooker was the pitching star. Now here's a guy who tied a modern major league record for the shortest name in baseball, Ed Ott. I can't think of any other players who had only 5 letters in both their first and last names combined. Mel Ott had 6. The Pirates had another catcher who had, I think, 6, but none that I know of. So if you know of any other player who had a 5-letter first and second name combined, I'd be very interested in hearing about that in the comments. The next card I'm going to show you is Jerry Royce, and he was another pitcher for the Pirates in those days. And I think, again, he was heavily relied upon during the 1979 season for being a pretty good starters. That's Jerry Royce. Guy that the Pirates got from the Mets, John Milner. A friend of mine saw the Mets team in the Pittsburgh airport one day, and John Milner and Cleon Jones were about to go get a beer, so that was a comment. Cleon Jones said, "Hey, Cleon," or John Milner said, "Hey, Cleon, let's go get some beer." And that's John Milner. Also a player known as the Hammer, not Hammer and Hank, but Hammer and Cleon. The Pirate catcher, Manny Sanguillen, number 35, a terrific guy. The aforementioned Dave Parker, who was the MVP of the All-Star game in 1979, made those 2 great throws. I think One of them was to third base, and one of them was to home plate, and he got assist from the outfield for against both of those against the National League team. Scrap iron, Phil Garner, terrific player. The great reliever of the Pirates during those years, Kent TeCulvey. Kent TeCulvey went to Marietta College, which is about 10 miles from my house. So we really liked TeCulvey when he was coming up, and followed him all throughout his career. Followed him again throughout his broadcasting career for the Pirates as a color guy on radio and TV. And he ran into some health problems and had to go away to recover from that, to have surgery and recover from that. Here's the Pirates 79 team card, world champions that year. As we said, I think I showed you the wrong card for Kent TeCulvey. Yeah, it was Bert Blyleven that I showed you. I apologize for that. Hall of Famer. Great pitcher for the Yankees. There's Kent TeCulvey. And here's another guy from not too far from where I live. Don Robinson went to Cerrito Canova High School, which was a single A team in the Huntington area at one time. Doesn't exist anymore. It was merged in with several other schools to form a AAA team at Spring Valley High School. But that's Donnie Robinson. He got credit for a win in relief in the series. And let's see here. This is a guy that was around for the longest time, and I don't think he ever pitched anywhere where he wasn't a very valuable part of the team. I believe he came up with the Twins back sometime in the 60s. Mudcat Grant, and he pitched for the Pirates in 1979 and was again a pretty important part of that team. This guy, I saw him pitch a game on TV that if he hadn't given up a single to the first batter he faced, would have pitched a perfect game because he retired the next 27 batters in a row. But he gave up a hit, so he didn't have a no-hitter after he faced the first batter. Didn't have a perfect game, but he sure pitched a hell of a game. And that's Jim Bibby. Another guy that was a terrific left-handed pitcher for many years. I saw another game that he pitched in during this time period, and that was a no-hitter against the Dodgers, I believe. So, John Candelaria. And then finally, you can't have a Pirate team from the 60s or 70s hardly without mentioning Willie Stargell, the great Hall of Famer for the Pirates. So that's my pickups, and I'm going to sign off for now. So this is Rocket Rick J18 wishing all your collecting dreams come true.